Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit your real estate, business, or other highly appreciated asset. I'm your host, Brett Swartz. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, business, and wealth minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of New York, and he actually spent about 15 years in the information technology field, managing risk, business intelligence, and quality of complex systems, softwares, and processes. He then took his talents to real estate investing full time and has been doing that for over a decade. And he's now assumed the responsibility of CEO and has founded what is known as the TF Management Group. And you can find them at tempofunding.com. And their focus is on helping people create and preserve more wealth with real estate, in particular, providing short and long-term debt and equity financings for a variety of different real estate investments. Please welcome to the show with me, Mike Zlotnik. Mike, how are you?
Hi, Brett. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate the great, gracious invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you being here. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. Real story of my life. I immigrated from the former Soviet Union in 1989 as a political refugee to the United States. I'm a U.S. citizen, a U.S. patriot. I've been a mathematician by education. I live in Brooklyn, New York for many years, married to my lovely wife, 4 kids and a cat, the 5th child. So that's a little bit about the family. And real estate has always been my passion. Even though I had a 15-year career in technology and was very successful at that, my true calling has always been real estate. Been investing since 2000, went full-time 2009, never looked back. It's my genius zone, love doing it. And today I manage or co-manage a few real estate funds, Tempo Growth Fund, Fund for Growth, Tempo Opportunity Fund, Growth and Income Fund, as well as number one-off deals. So that's what it is. And I live in Brooklyn, New York.
Amazing. Absolutely love that. I wanted to take a step back though, and perhaps it's back in the the childhood days when you're growing up. Mike, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts are given to us to be a blessing and of help to others. Some people call them strengths, people call them superpowers. I believe they're God-given gifts, and they've been given to us to help others. So I'm curious, what are those 1 or 2 given gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help people today?
Sure. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, I mean, my mind works. I'm a mathematician, chess player. That part of the brain is extremely well developed, and I help people solve finance and investing problems. I also do coaching on the bigmikecoaching.com. People have come to me with investment opportunities, and there are a lot of interesting deals out there, bright and shiny objects. And how do you know a difference between an average deal or a good deal or a terrible deal? So I try to help folks to dissect some of the good, the bad, and the ugly deals, just to, at least on the surface, and then help structure deals. A lot of real estate guys know how to do real estate. They don't know how to do finance. I love finance. So it's the God-given gift. You're right. And I appreciate the gift. And I try to help as I can in deal structuring and finance.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. The mathematician background, the love for real estate, the love for helping other people, and then figuring out ways to structure a deal on the financial side, which is the lifeblood of every deal, right? I mean, you have the structural deal and you put in the deal in contract, but until you have that blood, which is the funding, the cash to make it make sense, nothing goes anywhere. So fantastic. So let's dive right into that. So walk us through, tempo funding.com, right, is your group, TF Management Group LLC. What is it that you guys do? Clarify that. And then B, what you don't do. And then C, how you best help high net worth individuals.
Sure. So We're basically a fund management company. We have family of funds that spread the risk across a portfolio of diversified, well, it's diversified funds, spread the risk across a portfolio of investments with specific objective. So we have Tempo Growth Fund that invests in substantial value add projects with massive, typically depreciation benefits, and most of the income comes on the back end in the form of capital gains. Very tax efficient, helps folks with need for passive allocation losses, the PALs. I love to talk about the PALs versus the pigs. Most people don't know, what am I talking about? Well, in real estate, when you're trying to save on capital gains and you have a appreciated asset, you sell it, you have a lot of passive investment gains, and you need to roll the money into something that has passive allocation losses, the PALs. So we do, again, our funds are structured to be very tax efficient, and we pick and choose the best risk-adjusted return deals out there. We have a network of our own relationships with best sponsors and operators, and that's how we deliver the value. Tempo Opportunity Fund is very similar, just a little different fund. It has a broad mandate, including growth and income. But in general, what we do is we provide a diversified vehicle into portfolio of both growth assets or growth and income assets. The one-off deals from time to time also come up. We did a deal last year called Riverbend. It's basically heavy value add. Well, it's a value add multifamily in Indianapolis, where there is massive accelerated depreciation, and we passed through the deal to investors. Actually, folks wrote a check, let's just say for $100,000, and got $300,000 depreciation in the first year. So we're looking for these outsized depreciation deals as a way for folks to roll some of the capital gains into the next investment, as well as have substantial upside through value add strategies. So we do both the value add side and the income side. Just to add a little bit more, we finance quite a good number of what you call them fix and flip projects. Basically, you've heard of the hard money loans, so we do that. We have a universe of folks, including folks that have TV shows like Flip That House, not that show, but similar. So we provide debt finance if they make sense on fix and flip projects. We've been very opportunistic. Some of the most real interesting projects recently, we finance guys who buy land for cash, and then they sell it to folks in seller financing on a 6-year credit card payment. We provide bridge money, and then they're able to arbitrage that sixfold. They literally buy a lot for $3,000 to $4,000 and then sell it for $18,000. We do some exotic financing for folks that will buy land, get it permitted for cultivation of cannabis, and then flip it. So I call it pot farms. We're not financing pot farms, but the land is used for it's the land improvement play. Get it permitted for cultivation. So very opportunistic.
I love it. So I love the focus on every aspect of the wealth building, right? The depreciation to offset the cash flow, the ability to get value add deals, the ability to diversify. You're truly taking it from a financial, mathematical perspective, not just a one-off deal. You got to look at the holistic. Is that a fair summary, Mike?
Yeah, correct. You know what's really fascinating about investing in a growth fund versus one-off growth deals is that when we have something within the fund that goes through a short investment cycle, flips and generates a profit, it gets offset immediately with ongoing depreciation. So people ask me, why a fund? It has that added benefit that a portfolio generates massive amount of depreciation and can actually continue to offset taxes for years until the last set of assets kind of exit, and that's when you get all that capital gains coming in. So just a thought on that front. Beyond that, just trying to help folks with whatever issues they have. Let me give you an idea. We're working with the gentleman coaching capacity, where he's just looking to deploy capital. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, just to be clear. I'm not a licensed registered investment advisor, nor do I play one on TV. I'm a fund manager, and I do some coaching with high net worth folks. His issue is got to deploy a lot of capital. And we're trying to think it through, and he's a high earner. He's in a very high tax bracket. How do you do this? Well, you got to pick growth projects where you don't have to pay income on the capital that you are on the. You don't have to pay income tax on the growth until it's sold. Number one. Number two, parking the money in the short term to generate some temporary income until you get to the point where he's ready to deploy. The other problem we're solving is high degree of uncertainty, and we don't know where we're going to get over the next couple of years. So how do you do it smartly? How do you put the capital to work today and tomorrow at the same time, park the money somewhere? So it's a complex problem, but everything has a solution.
Yeah, I imagine you, Mike, within a Rubik's cube, and it has all the different color sides, right? And you're the brain surgeon, like, putting this thing. Okay, how do we maximize tax savings? How do we maximize gains, value, short term, long term? And you're trying to make all the colors match up. It's not always going to be perfect, right? But to the best of your ability, you're doing that. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, exactly. The kids bring the Rubik's Cube. They do a good job breaking it up. They bring it right back to me. And a minute later, they have it back all set up again. And the process continues, actually.
I love it, Mike. What's the most rewarding part of what you do?
It's a great question. I would say solving a problem. I don't know how to say. When you have a complex problem, I grew up being a mathematician, a chess player, and I participated in Mathematical Olympiad. I can't tell you when you get a bunch of impossible to solve problem and you solve one or two and you find elegant solution. I don't know how else to put it, but it just it just feels great, like you just made the world a little better.
Absolutely, but it's a good segue. Now, I don't know if you're ready for this, but I'm gonna do a curveball here, and I'm gonna test you. And it's something that we're really passionate about, solving a problem using something called a deferred sales trust. You may have heard of it, you may not. I don't even know. We were just meeting for the first time. But you mentioned capital gains tax, and you mentioned you go through these deals and you're depreciating, but you're probably doing accelerated depreciation, some cost segregation, right? You're getting it. And then eventually you get to a point where you're going to sell that asset, and then it's going to be all recaptured and the capital gains tax is going to be hit. Have you ever considered a deferred sales trust at the sell, either for GP interest, even potentially LP interest? Have you ever even heard of that? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I have certainly heard about it. I have never used it, but I know it is. It requires a proper setup. I'm well aware. I'm well aware of some limitations. For example, on a DST, you don't have. You still have to recapture depreciation. You only get to defer capital gains. So it's one of the. I don't want to call them limitations, but it's a part of the side effect. So it can be part of a solution, but requires expert opinion from folks like you, how to set it up properly, because it's a very sophisticated vehicle. It cannot be done by your average CPA.
You're absolutely right. And I'll push back though on the one thing. You're right. In a traditional deferred sales trust, the depreciation recapture, if it's been accelerated, right? If it's cost seg, it's a different setting, then you're right. If it's just regular depreciation recapture, no problem. If it's straight line, no problem. However, we have another one that's called a DST plus that can actually take care of that and keep that deferred. Now, we can't do
I love the idea, by the way. Maybe we talk offline and you explain to me how DST plus works, because it's very powerful, obviously.
Yeah, I will. And for those who are curious, you can learn more at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, and you can download our free ebook. But it is something we think is transformational once you understand how it works, why it works, which leads into the second part, which is estate tax. Okay, so you're probably familiar with that, right? If you're worth 22 million or more, married, anything left inside the taxable estate is going to be hit with a 40% death tax. If you're 12 million single, however, in 2025, those are set to expire, meaning it's likely to drop in half. 12 million married, 6 million single. And so we just did a deal in Colorado where we helped the client not only sell and defer their capital gains tax on about a $5 million asset, but also simultaneously move the funds outside of their taxable estate and saving them the 40% on that $5 million for their heirs. So these are the creative solutions. And I'm going to apply the big Mike. You said looking for good deals, bad deals. What are the questions? Hearing about it for the first time on this scale, on this little sliver. What would be the questions that you'd want to ask to try to see if this Rubik's cube lines up?
So I'm not a CPA, don't play one on TV. The problem is obviously complex, and most folks do transfer wealth slowly over time to their kids, so they need a plan. So you ask me what questions to ask. What time frame do you have to do some of this creative financing to get the the wealth transfer to your kids, right? That's
So the key would be setting up the DST, prior to close of escrow. So typically we need 14, 21 days, ideally 30, 60 to make sure we get everything really clear, and before the buyer removes all contingencies. Because what's happening here is you're selling it to the trust, right? So we've got to do pre-planning, and we got to do it in order. So that's the first one. However, with the 1031 exchange, we can save a failed 1031. So that there's a second window there if it's investment property. Remember, 1031 only applies to investment property. If you're a primary home seller, ours works as well, but we got to do that before close of escrow. Or a business, before close of escrow. Cryptocurrency, high-end, artwork, collectibles, stock, all works for the deferred sales trust, but we got to do that before close of escrow, right? Or before the transaction. So the key is before. Now, to your point, FLPs and or gifting. What we found before folks meet us is they want to get it outside the taxable state. They just are running out of time, right? And they can't gift enough away. And so the intent is to get it out as much as you can. The challenge, you can't get out in time. The solution is the deferred sales trust. So in one day, in one transaction, we can sell and move it outside the taxable state. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, I have another creative solution to the problem of the estate tax. Like, I mean, I'm gonna
love to hear it. If you want to share, is that another offline?
It's hilarious. It's just not. No, it's Woody. It's a joke, of course. Yeah. Woody said, "I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve immortality through not dying." Okay. That's the answer to the question. Just don't die. Live forever.
Just don't die, baby. Just don't die. That's yeah. Well, if we figure that one out, we'll all be in better shape. Okay, so that's estate tax. We talked about depreciation recapture. We talked about capital gains tax. We talked about what you guys do. I love that you like solving problems, because at the heart of it, the problems we solve, the stronger we are to solve the next problem. So talk about just how either your business has evolved or you've evolved as you solve more. There's another set of problems to conquer, and how that experience has helped you to do that.
Sure. So first of all, when we invest, again, as a fund manager, I don't think about tax efficiency and saving on taxes as the primary objective. As much as it's important to do this, and everything you do is a part of a solution, but it's not the entire solution. So what I do like to do is find great deals that have the right tax benefits. At the same time, continue with just very sound investing strategies. So let me give you an example. A lot of people picked up on these opportunity zone recent developments, and they go crazy about them. They get excited, and then they say, well, let's do opportunity zones. And I looked at a number of deals, and the deals were not good. They were crappy deals, but they had opportunity zone benefits. So you just can't. The lessons learned is don't let. I have a good friend. He says this: don't let the tax tail whack the wealth dog. If you ever heard that expression, that is really hilarious. He's a good friend of mine, Ryan Parson, and that's his favorite expression. But we focus on sound deals. It always starts with great deals, and ideally they have pretty strong tax benefits. So at the end of the day, we're investing not only to shield from taxes, but that's a side benefit. The primary objective is to get great risk-adjusted returns. So the lessons learned everywhere, everything we've done is just focus on the better, the most important thing, the number one thing, and the number one thing is sound investing. The number two, obviously, is tax efficiency and saving. There are exceptions, obviously, personal sort of situations. You have a deal which you've depreciated to zero, you have a negative capital account balance, and you don't ever want to sell that asset. So there are some complications, but you could add in DST, you could add in some charitable trusts and come up with a solution. Again, I'm not a CPA. I don't solve people wealth tax problems. I just find the best investment opportunities and help them get a great return. We happen to deliver tax efficiency as a side effect of what we do.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And what would a new depreciation schedule mean? Like, for that guy who owns that, $25 million property on the corner and he's never going to sell, bullseye location. It's appreciated from 5 to 25, but it's fully depreciated. What would a brand new depreciation schedule mean? Walk the listeners through that, what that would mean for somebody.
So I'm not clear, understand the question. So I don't know what the new depreciation schedule will look like. If you depreciate it, you have negative, you can't sell the asset without, maybe you do that DST plus, and then you'll deal with the different cost basis, right? So if you've I don't know, at a $25 million asset, and now you're going to acquire a $100 million asset, and you've depreciated $25 million to, I don't know, negative 10, maybe at that point your cost basis will change. But it's not what we do, right? We have investments in projects with accelerated depreciation. So after a few years, you're in the negative. So the strategy is just, at least in the short run, refi until you die, right? At least for foreseeable future, and then maybe engage someone like you when they feel like they want to exit the asset.
Yep. And we'll talk more about that offline, but we have a solution for that. Yeah, you can sell now, move it to Deferred Sales Trust or Plus, and then you can use the funds to partner with the trust to go buy a deal with a new depreciation schedule, all tax deferred. And it's when you understand this, you go, oh man, I didn't realize that. And that's my story actually. In 2006, I was at Marcus & Millichap, multifamily brokerage, helping people do 1031 exchanges, and I saw the whole marketplace kind of get flipped upside down by '08. And we go, what happened? And we looked at it and we said they were overpaying via the 1031 exchange, right? They felt pressured. They felt forced. They were taking on too much debt, equal or greater value. They're doing what we call shotgun weddings, getting engaged in 45 days, married in 180. And now they knew they shouldn't be buying, but they were letting the tax tail wag the wealth dog. And now the music stops and they're not diversified. They're not liquid and they're fighting with the banks. And we're going, there's got to be a better way, right? And we found out the Deferred Sales Trust in about 2009. And everything has changed since then, since I actually educate and show people how to do it. And so I appreciate you walking back and forth with me here, because there's a lot of listeners listening for the first time. They never heard of this, right? They're not sure what questions to ask. So indeed, you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, what are your thoughts on the marketplace right now? Where are you finding deals? You're in New York. It seems to be this flight to Florida or this flight to different states. How real is that perception that the media is, we're thinking about? Do you feel like there's a big, migration going on? And if so, how's that going to affect real estate in New York? And where are you investing today right now that you like?
So Brad, a great question. We're investing where the way to think about our funds, we're funds of funds. So we have relationship with best of the breed sponsors and operators around the country. We don't invest necessarily only in New York. We invest some in New York. We actually like distressed commercial debt. It's a safe way to invest. It's like I call it buying an option on a property. You buy a distressed note, you try to foreclose. Realistic case scenario, you'll get paid off. If you ever actually take it to the auctions, you'll make it like a bandit. So, but that aside, we invest the hottest trend right now we see. It's a COVID-created opportunity. COVID is a terrible thing, but it did something. It dislocated certain asset classes, specifically hotels. So we've been investing in the hotel conversions to affordable multifamily housing. So the trend was there pre-COVID. It's not a brand new idea. It's been around. But COVID has sort of accelerated this. So we just had a deal exiting. We invested 21 months ago. We got 73% IRR on a conversion. It was like a super home run. I mean, I'm not saying every deal is like this, but we got 2.2 multiple on the investment in 21 months. And the new deals we've been doing, there's actually two flavors of this trend. One is you take extended stay hotels, just from a basic standpoint. If they are not doing well, they look like apartments. Literally, they look like apartments, residents in. And you convert them to multifamily, and many of them are zoned naturally for multifamily housing. So these projects have pretty good 2-3 year kind of renovate, reposition, refi, or sell type of strategy. So we love these projects. They have generally pretty good economics with target returns, IRR in the low to mid 20s conservatively. Of course, there's risk. Everything has risk. So this is a trend that they don't need to be in big metropolitan cities. They could be smaller MSAs. We've done a deal in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, South Bend, Indiana. We had a deal in Mesa, Arizona, and so on. So we like that trend as a COVID opportunity. We've also invested recently in some office conversions to multifamily, yet another post-COVID victim, unfortunately. So some of these office buildings, they're just not going to have the tenants for quite a while. If they're well positioned in a good location, it's a little bit heavier lifting, more work, but they present pretty interesting opportunity to be repositioned into housing. So these are some of the recent trends. And then, as I mentioned, some of the very opportunistic investing, not again linked to a Florida itself. Yeah, the Florida is generally pretty hot for obvious reasons. No state income tax, right? Pretty basic. New York, unfortunately, again, I don't want to take political positions, but I grew up in the former Soviet Union, and I have to say that this socialistic system just doesn't work. Socialism, unfortunately, doesn't work. In New York State, too much resembles a little bit too much of the socialism. So I have to say, being a political refugee from socialist and communist system doesn't work. When you try to take everything people have, tax them, repress them, it doesn't work. People just not happy. But I do believe the Big Apple will come back. The Big Apple will come back when we're when we achieve sort of herd immunity, and the Broadway reopens, and the theaters reopen, and everything else reopens. People will come back. So I would not write down New York. In fact, New York, I believe, will come back strongly. The fact that there is high tax has been here. People lived here in New York because it's a great city. So the move to Florida does have value, and the climate is better, and no state tax, and too many people retire from New York to Florida. But it's still a great city. I think New York will be there to stay for a long time.
Excellent, Mike. And by the way, you can learn more about Mike Zlotnik at tempofunding.com or just go to bigmikefund.com, bigmikefund.com. Mike,
let me make one quick comment and a quick
Sure.
joke. Sorry, I want to spice them up. These discussions are too technical. So when I tell people go to bigmikefund.com, sometimes people hear it, go to bigmikefund.com. I forget the D. I promise it's not a kinky site.
Got it. Yeah. Make sure. Yeah, be careful. You don't know what you're searching for. Big Mike Fund with a D, like funding. Excellent. Thank you, Mike. With that being said, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes, sir.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you would make sure that you would do?
Never sell real estate. Just buy and hold forever.
Collect them.
I regret everything that I sold. Everything has done so well that I kept, and what I sold, hindsight, shouldn't have sold.
Got it. Yep. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
No BS Marketing to the Affluent by Dan Kennedy. Love the book. If you want to raise capital from affluent investors, high net worth, that's the book. Dan is the master blaster of that. Love the book.
Excellent. Best real estate investment ever?
Well, one of these cannabis farms. Long story short, we made a loan with a very high rate of return, 25% coupon. It was a secondary mortgage, second lien deed of trust on a 300 acres of land conversion permitting for cultivation in California, and all in cost is between 2.5 to 3 million, and probably easy exit at 9 million. So we also own a piece of the equity on the deal. So what's most fascinating, the return on equity exceeds all that 25% rate of return on the loan. So if you get into some of these, I'm not supporting cannabis, nor I'm not advocating it, but some of these deals just have super home runs.
Amazing. Congratulations. I love that. Worst real estate deal have you ever done?
Yeah, years ago, we made a loan on a property, and the borrower failed, and we took over the property, we foreclosed on it, and we continued to rehab the property, and it became a bottomless pit. Like that movie, what's it called, Money Pit?
Yeah.
Yes. So no matter how much renovation we did, it was never finishing. There was always more problems, and it took us forever. We quadrupled the budget, and the worst part of it was that when we sold this property, we couldn't sell it. We had to drop the price by a couple $100,000. So we lost substantial amount of money on the deal, and it wasn't, it's one of the, got a PhD in we probably would have been better off not trying to renovate, just take what we can at the auction, be done. We would have licked our wounds a little bit and be done. But we thought we could make money on the deal, and some of these complex renovations, big, heavy construction projects could be bottomless pits.
Got it. Thank you for sharing. Two more questions. This is second to last here is, what are you curious about right now?
Interest rates. I am a big scholar of Fed policy. One of my other favorite books is The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's about the Fed, the formation of Fed, and the monetary policy. So I love this stuff. I'm sort of economist minor, and I never got a degree in economics, but at this point, sometimes I call myself PhD without the PhD. Love economics, Fed policy, and I'm fascinated by the fact right now that the Fed is not taking action of quantitative easing to let the rates, long-term rates, long part of the yield curve, they're letting that they let that yield curve widen, and it's a little bit strange to me. I think they're letting it. They're not doing the right thing, in my opinion, and I think when they will wake up, it'll be a little too late. Fed is always late making these decisions. They were way too late keeping the rates at zero for a long time, then they raised the rates. Now they drop the rates again, and they're not taking action with the quantitative easing to deal with the fact that the rates are rising. It'll be heavy brakes on the economy. Interest rates with massive over leveraged U.S. economy with massive amount of public and private debt. It's a substantial risk if they let the rates go up much more from now. So the rates moved quite a bit from January 1st until today, and if they don't slow them down, I think we're going to have substantial slowdown as a result of that higher cost of debt service.
Mike, I want to thank you for being on the show, and wrap it up with this last question. And it's this: after helping countless individuals and doing so many deals, making a bunch of money, and helping other people create and preserve more wealth with your funds, by the way, tempofunding.com you can go, or go to bigmikefund.com. How do you stay centered, Mike, in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to keep charging forward to reach new heights?
Yeah, I just want to make a difference, make an impact, help somebody. Again, just give you an idea. Even working with successful people, and they're successful in their own right, there's something about help. You don't even need to get paid, but if you help somebody and you're not paid, it's, how should I put it? It gives the biggest satisfaction to me is to help. I mean, my mother was a big giver, and I'm not doing anything beyond what I do day in and day out. But if I can help somebody and they learn something, again, don't give the man fish, teach him how to fish. If I could help someone with one idea that'll improve their life, their business, and they can go with it, so much more power, so much, you made the world a little bit better today.
Beautiful. Well, Mike, I think you definitely made this podcast wiser today, and more thoughtful today, and definitely more beautiful today as well. You're looking sharp with the background, with the big Mike Fund, with the little podcast guy there, and the blue top there. So you're looking suit top. You're looking great. I want to encourage you to keep using your mathematician mind, your problem solving skills, and how you structure deals to help more people create and preserve more wealth. Keep using that as Rubik's cubes to solve these problems, because we need problem solvers like yourself to help more people. And with that, I also want to remind everybody, you can find Mike at tempofunding.com, funding.com, and bigmikefund.com. And for our listeners, I want to thank you again for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust to exit your business, real estate, or other highly appreciated asset, we believe is the best way for you to create and preserve more wealth. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. Or if you're a business professional looking at how to use it to grow your business, go to experttaxsecrets.com and learn about that. Thank you so much for watching this podcast and hearing this podcast. We appreciate